Hey everybody, it's Lauren Tucker from the Home Builders Association of Northwest Michigan. This is the Building Better podcast. This episode's a little different than what you're used to. We had the opportunity to sit down with outgoing NAHB Chairman Carl Harris when we were out in Las Vegas at the International Builders Show. And then a little later in the program, we'll have the chance to talk with Bob Filka, CEO of HBA of Michigan, who will kind of explain a little bit of the advocacy efforts that they work on, and then also celebrate the fact that he was recognized as EO of the Year out at the International Builders Show. So I hope you enjoy. Today we are live from the International Builders Show put on by the National Association of Home Builders, and joining me is the man, the chairman of the board, Carl Harris. Hi, Carl.
Well, thanks, Lauren. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me.
Well, I should be thanking you. I know how busy you are and the demands on your time, so I really appreciate this. This is a great opportunity for our members that haven't had a chance to meet you to hear your story. And I am always so inspired when I hear you speak, like this morning at the President's Council. How has your year as president been?
I have loved this year. I mean, it's time to turn it over to Buddy, my first vice chair. Yeah. It's been 4 years in the making. I get one more year.
One more year.
Really happy that my area of resource will be the north central part of the U.S. So
they get to keep you around.
You do. So hopefully I'll get invited back to Michigan to some of your meetings.
I have a feeling that you definitely will be. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting you when I had the opportunity to attend NAHB orientation a year ago in October, which is an incredible resource. I'd been in my job about a year and a half, and there was so much that I didn't even know. And I think it's so incredible how available the senior officers make themselves to the members that attend those events.
You know, our number one goal, and the goal of this number one goal and number one pillar of the strategic plan is to strengthen the Federation. Mm-hmm. And we can only strengthen the Federation if we strengthen each of the three legs of the stool.
Right.
The local, the state associations, and the National Federation. So whatever we can do to train and educate and strengthen our locals, their leadership, that's what we want to be about. And even if it's just bringing some of this to Michigan,
right,
that's what it takes.
Yeah. Now, you've been to Michigan twice now. You came for a summer convention. That was a lot of fun. And then you braved the Upper Peninsula in January, which is admirable.
We hit a lucky day.
We sure did. It was 40 degrees when we were up there. It was nuts. The next week, I think they got 8 feet of snow in one day. So you chose well. So this morning, I enjoyed hearing your recap of the strategic plan, and our local is a very firm believer in the Federation. In fact, previously, we had explored what it would look like if we weren't part of that Federation. And what we learned from that is you really get out what you put in. And by showing up and taking part in events like this, again, it really increases the value that we bring back to our members. And you touched on the advocacy that the team at NAHB is working on the federal level as we fight our battles locally and at the state level. And I did see that you addressed the Senate. Is that correct?
I did. I had a chance to testify before the Senate in regard to permitting. Mm-hmm. The permits 404, whenever people start to develop, they have these permitting and they don't know whether or not waters are federally jurisdictional from the waters of the U.S. And they won't define those. And we're saying, come on, either define them or define what they're not. Maybe they're not a ditch. Maybe they're not a swell in your yard. Maybe they're not a small dip in your yard that holds water, after the snow melts.
Yeah.
And so
we're familiar with that.
We're trying to talk to them about it. And we really believe that this administration and that committee, the Environmental and Public Works Committee, was really open to working together, both sides. And so we sure hope so.
That's good to hear, because when we look at the equation of why the cost of housing is what it is, there's really, in my opinion, only two areas that we can truly influence. The market's going to do what it's going to do. The cost of goods is determined by the market. Land, too, determined by the market. And where we live is in extremely high demand, as well as many areas of the country. So those only two factors, in my view, is the workforce development, creating more tradespeople, and then controlling the regulatory space to be fair and equitable, because that's really what adds a ton to the cost of a project, the length of a project.
Right, but sometimes the cost of the land is artificially inflated because of the regulation, those permits. We had talked to a builder developer from Ohio that said his permit cost was $140,000 for 14 lots.
That's great.
So that increased the cost of the lot $10,000. And as I'd said earlier today, each time we raise the cost of a home $1,000, we lock out 106,000 families.
That's staggering.
How can we continue to do that and want to house America?
Right.
We can't. And we've got to be able to deal with our labor shortages. Mm-hmm. And we've got to work closely with our communities, see the needs, get our message out, how much fun we have in this industry, how enjoyable this industry is, how rewarding this industry is as we build homes, enrich communities, change lives.
Yeah, I am blown away when you say that. And you said something else this morning, and I wrote it down because I do quote you quite often. My favorite quote is, everyone graduating high school should go into the trades, and if they're not good at it, then go to college. So the listeners have definitely heard me say that before. But you said today that the house is like a scrapbook.
The neighborhoods we build are the scrapbooks of our lives.
Of our lives.
And I grew up with that. My father wasn't a builder owner, Mm-hmm. He was just a tradesperson. And as we drove through neighborhoods and when he did commercial projects, he would tell a story.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a really funny carpenter on this job, or man, it was a really bitter cold winter that time. Every project has a story, and those stories create the scrapbook. And then when you go back years later and you see mature trees and you see kids on bicycles in the front yard who don't even know who you are, but that's house that they live in is there because of you, not because of the city, not because of the government. They may have even stood in the way. Mm-hmm. Our builders, our suppliers, sales professionals, trade partners, construction professionals, each one of them developed that community.
Yeah, that is, it's beautiful in my mind to think of it that way. And, I'm married to a builder, and the kids always laugh about how when we go anywhere in town that we get to hear all the stories and like, oh, that's where Josh got stung by all the bees, or, oh, Dave was sprayed by the skunk at that house. Like we all remember those stories, and the kids will point it out like, oh, there's the skunk house. So that really resonated with me.
So what do you think bankers and attorneys and accountants giggle and laugh about, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine. My dad was a banker, and I don't really think that that group giggles and laughs a whole lot, honestly. I mean, he's a pretty funny guy, but not in the office.
I get it.
Well, Carl, I know that you are very busy. This was a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us a little bit. And the thing I like to ask all of my guests as we say goodbye is, what's your favorite thing about the HBA?
The friendships I've made.
Yeah.
The friendships I've made are everlasting. I've been a member of my HBA since 1988.
That's incredible.
I've had the same EO since then.
That's incredible.
He started in 1986. We're just now replacing him. He was a great mentor. I'm probably here because of my EO and making me come to IBS, come to the fall and spring leadership meetings, get involved. I mean, was definitely the person. And I know you're encouraging that at your local. Each one of us has a plan to an opportunity to make a difference.
Joining me through the power of modern technology is CEO of HBA of Michigan, Bob Filka. Hi, Bob.
Hey, good morning, Lauren.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I thought this would be a really unique opportunity for our listeners, for our members to get to know you, the man at the state who holds the same kind of position as I do here locally, except on a much larger scale. And Bob, you've been at the HBA since what? You're coming up on 20 years?
2006. So coming up on 20 years, a little over 19 years. And it's been an interesting ride. We've seen a lot over the last 19 years.
It has, huh? And speaking of interesting rides, you've had a pretty couple interesting weeks since we were together in Vegas, haven't you?
We have. We're fast at work. And we were talking a little earlier, it's kind of bizarro world. We have the Home Builders Association advocating for a new code that would actually increase energy efficiency standards higher than what the environmental community is advocating for. They are asking the state to go to the 2021 code. We're saying, why use that outdated old code? We've got a new 24 code that is before us. It gives builders a lot more flexibility. But yet here we were in Lansing earlier this week, advocating for better energy efficiency, and the environmental community was saying, no, we don't want to go that far. Let's go to the 21. We don't trust you guys. We think you're just delaying things, and we need to get the 21 put in place. So it's just an interesting, crazy time, right? We've got Republicans who historically have opposed tariffs, and they're all for them, and Democrats who've always been for them who are against them. So the world is upside down.
It is. I find myself saying all the time, it's a wild time to be alive. Like, what a wild time to be alive. It's continues to be a very fluid situation on many fronts. And so I would love if you could share a little bit about how the state association works to advocate for the code. So what does that mean exactly?
Right. I mean, a lot of times people think, oh, our state association it's just a bunch of lobbyists working at the Capitol, involved in legal situations for the industry, suing local communities on permit fee issues and other things. But we also advocate for individual members, right? So get engaged in local cases where there might be an ordinance that's really masquerading as a building code regulation. Just recently sent a letter to a local community that had passed an ordinance prohibiting homes from being built on slabs, that you got to have a basement or at least a crawl space. And we said, no, under the state construction code, slabs are an acceptable form of construction. You can't prohibit something that's allowed in the code. So we sent them a letter. Fortunately, in that case, they backed off and allowed our member to go ahead and save their customer tens of thousands of dollars by not having to dig a basement.
Right.
So it's things like that. Eagle permits is a big issue for a lot of our folks. I know we've been trying to help some of your members up in Northwest Michigan.
Yep.
Expedite those. Utility connections as well is something we get involved with and I like to call it's our squeaky wheel advocacy role.
And members have the opportunity to join in on those utility calls, right? Do those happen monthly or quarterly?
Yes. We have a monthly fourth Wednesday noontime call with utilities. You can join in that. Anybody can do it. We have some policy related discussions. In fact, right now, we're trying to convince the state's two major utilities to allow us to do a pilot where builders and developers would actually oversee their own connection to the utility services. Obviously, having to use certified contractors to follow all the safety rules and stuff. But given all the delays we've been experiencing across the state, we felt, hey, some states allow it, some municipal power companies allow it, and we think it makes sense because that's what builders do. They manage subcontractors on their build sites.
All day, every day.
They can do, yeah, so just another contractor, as long as they're certified and do everything appropriately. So we're working on trying to get a pilot going, but you don't have to wait for those fourth Wednesday calls. If in fact, it's more important if you have an immediate problem, or you've experienced delays, give us a shout. We will try to get you to the top of the pecking order, in terms of squeaking that squeaking voice advocacy for you. So I always remind folks, don't wait for those fourth Wednesday calls.
Right.
Get a hold of us as soon as you have a problem.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I remind our members often is if we don't know about it, we can't help, right? And we have been lucky in our local to have a lot of support from the state lately, in the form of our local grassroots advocacy program, hoping that we can prove that as success and replicate it across all the locals. We've already seen a lot of good come from what we've created that can be shared across the whole federation within the state. And one of the things that came out of that is the builder report form that I think is live or is going live very soon. And what this does, listeners, is it gives our members an opportunity to let us know if they're having a problem, whether it's with a local municipality, a utility company, whatever that looks like, and get that reported. We get it on record, keeping track of like, if this is a thing that's a one-off or is this something that's happening to a lot of our members. But I'm excited about this because it's a new way to make sure that people have that avenue to let us know what's going on.
Absolutely. Even if your problem, you don't want to get to the point where, gee, I don't want any retribution for reporting this.
Right.
We'll keep information confidential, but it's really important for our success going forward. In fact, Don Crandall on our team, our chief lobbyist, is going to be testifying next week in the Capitol on problems with Eagle permitting. And we're going to have her do the testimony and give generic examples without identifying the project, the builder, developer, just simply because, I know a number of our members have experienced some backlash. I wouldn't say necessarily blackballing, but they've had some issues if they squawk a little bit too much and it comes back to them.
Yeah.
We want to insulate them from that, but it still helps us from an advocacy standpoint to push within the departments or the utilities or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that form is going to help us grow a database of issues and ways that we've addressed them. So
yeah,
in fact, just recently, yeah. So it's really important for the long-term advocacy work that both the state and at the local level, that if we can build this database, we're using AI as well. We actually have our national association has invested in an AI software tool for us. So every morning, Dawn and Ariana and I get a report in our email that shows a record of where housing issues have come up across the state. We click on a link. I can listen to the city council talk about new tap-in fees or whatever whatever issue might be coming up. So it's a really cool tool.
Another example of that modern technology. It's wild that I heard them talking about that at the Leadership Council at IBS, and I am really excited to hear that we're employing that locally. Because how can you be in all of those meetings that are happening all at the same time?
Exactly. In fact, we were fearful when we knew we needed to lend more support to our local associations at the local level, because many staffs, you guys have been fortunate. You have a good team, been able to keep your people in place. But given some of the, after the pandemic and everything, we've seen smaller staffs, less ability to be able to engage. So with AI and other tools, we're going to be able to step in and help provide some support that we've never been able to before at the local level. So yeah, we're excited about that. One other thing that came up at IBS that I think is important to keep in mind is they're developing a new tool to assess local communities' housing friendliness, if you will. So they're going to have a gold, silver, bronze type of categorization that you can assess your community and say, hey, here's where you guys are falling short, or hey, congratulations, you guys are doing all the right things. You've got a predictable system for permitting and inspections. So we want to be able to take that tool and go around and kind of use our bully pulpit, right? To
Yeah.
say community, show how communities fare and do kind of a best practice media tour. Once we have that tool, we want to really use it locally to help applaud those that are doing a great job and maybe give a little nudge to those that still have some old, outdated practices that kind of slow housing and create more costs for our members.
I'm excited about these standardized metrics as well. We at the local grassroots group, we talked about creating like a scale on buildability within the local municipalities, and being a unique market up here in northern Michigan with the amount of waterfront that we have and the challenges that go along with that, with local government specifically, like how do you have that conversation constructively? And I think that this is really going to help that. When you've got these standardized metrics that you can measure these communities against each other and highlight those that are doing it well, and then create the opportunity for improvement, working with experts like our members that work in the field that are building. And at the end of the day, I mean, builders oftentimes get painted as the bad guy, but really, like, we're the heroes. We're delivering homes. This is the American dream that our members are building every day.
Yes. And you mentioned lakefront. We've got one of the cases down in West Michigan near Grand Haven that we're working on. We have a local jurisdiction that, with all the high water levels a few years back, there's still a lot of work being done to repair stairways down the dunes to the Lake Michigan. And whether it's a Lake Michigan staircase or any other staircase, this particular building department was trying to apply a stair geometry standard from the Michigan Residential Code for outdoor staircase from the dune down to the lake. And we've engaged and are trying to convince that community that the residential code is meant for indoor staircases, unless the staircase is attached to a deck that's attached to the house. Those rules don't apply. And in fact, I've been talking to Eagle about this situation. I said, hey, those requirements are going to do more damage to the dune. They're going to, because if you have to build landings, more landings, et cetera, you're going to disturb the natural flow of those dunes. So ironically, Eagle may help us in this situation and tell the township in West Michigan to cease and desist, because they're actually doing more damage to the dune by holding our members building those staircases to a standard that's ridiculous. Anyway.
A lot of the time when these issues pop up, it's like, who thought that was a good idea? I mean, where does that even come from? And when we face that a lot, especially up here with Peninsula Township, for example. I think it's 47 miles of shoreline. It's the only township in the country with that much shoreline, especially fresh water. And there's often a lot of confusion over who has the final say and what the actual regulations should be related to the shoreline. And speaking of advocacy at all levels, I know nationally NAHB is working to clarify some of what the definitions of what national waterways are and who has jurisdiction over that. And I think if we have more answers like that, then maybe the interpretation will be less. As I know locally, that's a big challenge.
Yeah, and in Michigan, we're kind of cursed and blessed at some level. Some might feel we're cursed, some might feel we're blessed. Michigan actually is one of only a couple states that have jurisdiction on wetlands and
Hmm.
waterways. Most states have to go directly to Army Corps of Engineers and EPA. We get to go through Eagle, um, and it's a mixed bag. I mean, several years ago, it was a
Yeah.
good thing. We had a different administration, different interpretations. Under our current administration, it's been more of a challenge. Um, but actually, we have great relationships with the folks at Eagle. I mean, they actually admit at a management level that they have lots of issues. They have different, they have their regional offices. Many times, what we've discovered is they have different interpretations in different parts of the
Hmm.
state based on the staff. And so I meet on a monthly basis with one of their deputy directors just to try and identify some of those issues and say, look, over here they're interpreting this way, over here they're interpreting it this way, a better way from our perspective. And it's slowly but steadily, I believe, changing some practices over there. But yeah, I mean, uh, we're a unique state, lots of water. I mean, obviously, all the shoreline we have. The Eagle issue has been taking up a big part of our advocacy work over the last several
Yeah,
months.
absolutely. Well, I am very thankful for the team at the state association. You keep us well informed and offer a lot of support. You've either seen it before, or you can add like case law or whatever it is to help give us local EOs the best tools that we can to help the members out, and I appreciate that. The state also does some really fun things as well. And new this year, we will be celebrating at the installation of senior officers in November. We will be celebrating the award program that's new this year related to advocacy. I know that I'm excited about this because it just gives another opportunity for our members to get involved and to interact at the state level. Um, and then also, I'm super excited about the summer convention this year. We're going to be at Boyne Mountain.
This year, right?
Yeah,
And then we're going to be in downtown Traverse City next year. So we've got that Northwest track going here for the next couple of
yeah.
years.
Northwest Michigan HBA members, you have no excuse not to be there. And I will tell you, it's going to be a great party again this summer. We had an awesome time at the island last year for the 75th anniversary, really rolled out the red carpet. And these meetings are well attended by representatives from the National Association. And it's an opportunity to network with your peers across the state, which is invaluable in my opinion, and some really interesting educational opportunities. And this year, we're going to rock our socks off with Sunset Boulevard, right?
Well, you would know better than I because you're on our convention planning committee, and I've not been able to participate in some of those meetings given all of the advocacy stuff going on. But yeah, no, it's going to be a fantastic party. A little bit of business, a little bit of fun, and escape. You know, members are able to write off some of those costs as a business expense. Obviously, since you're
Mm-hmm.
there as um, doing business and helping your business, but also doing some work of the association and having fun and networking. Really encourage our members to participate in that if they've never
Mm-hmm.
done it. Uh, Great networking opportunity, and that's the thing about our association, right? I mean, I think you asked earlier how long has it been? Oh, it's been nearly 20 years, and the recurring theme I hear from members in terms of value of your local, state, and national associations, ultimately it comes down to being a better business
Mm-hmm.
person. Really, that if you want to raise the bar of your company and the work that you do, being part of the association and networking and learning new ideas from fellow members around the state or around the country, or participating in a training session that your local's putting on. I mean, I think that is the fundamental value. Yes, we have all kinds of benefit
Mm-hmm.
programs, insurance programs. If you have more than 10 or 12 employees, you really need to check out like our workers' comp self-insured benefit program where you can get 40 to 50% of your premium for workers' comp back. But even with those kinds of benefits, the fundamental value is being that better business
Yeah,
person.
I love that. Well, Bob, and we're running a little short on time here, but I also want to congratulate you for being recognized as EO of the Year at the National Builder Show this year. That's a huge honor, and I think so well deserved. And you are a huge resource for us. So congratulations. How did you feel about that?
Well, thank you. No, I think it's an acknowledgement of the great team we have. I mean, we've got a great staff in Lansing. We have great local EOs like yourself that are just kicking ass around the state. We've got engaged volunteer leaders of the association that are passionate, and that's what that recognition is really about. And so, yeah, I was kind of, well, I'm very humbled and was surprised by that, but it was a great IBS for all of Michigan. We had the Young Professional of the Year from one of our members over in the Midland area. We have one of your colleagues who was elected to the board of directors for our National EO Council. So we've got folks that are engaged and care. So it's really a recognition of that. But
well,
thank you.
And I always like to ask my guests what their favorite part of the HBA is, and I feel like you really answered that. And I'm going to divert a little and say that, my favorite part is just what you said. The folks that are so engaged and passionate and show up every day to make our industry better is what drives me and fuels me. And there's an unending abundance of that kind of motivation.
We are very lucky to work for an industry that has so much integrity and passion, really. And when you think about all that it takes to actually get a house built or a development built out, I mean, as I see that, I'm amazed and awed by our members because most people, if they saw that list of what you have to go through to get it done, would not even try, right? And our folks, our men and women in the industry are just incredible, and it's an honor to be able to work
absolutely.
for them.
I feel the same way. True heroes. Well, Bob, I appreciate so much the time this morning, giving the members an opportunity to get to know you and understand a little bit more about the work that you guys do every day at the state level, supporting us locally. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, my pleasure.
Thanks, everybody. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you are interested in sponsoring this podcast, give me a call.